Welcome back everyone for more musical motivation. This is my scripted segment meant to help struggling musicians through all of the woes that they might encounter on their journey. This time we're going to talk about talent for a little bit. The concept of talent is a very difficult subject. It can be a blessing to those who have it and a curse to those who do not. I see all these aspiring musicians who, in my eyes, are very excellent at what they do. They'll start comparing themselves to a more seasoned musician, someone who has years of practice and experience as an advantage over them. Then they start saying things like, I'll never be half as good as Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen, so I might as well just give up. I tell them that I guarantee any of the great artists, fill in your blank here, has thought the same thing once or twice themselves. Everyone has a starting point where they kinda suck a little bit, even the best of the best. Or I'll hear things like, my parents said I don't have any talent and I need to stay in college and quit all this music nonsense, which I think is even worse. And here you can fill in your family member, teacher, maybe even a fellow musician, maybe a bandmate who isn't being supportive. Negativity from those around you can also derail the confidence that you need to be a successful musician. It's really a shame when an otherwise great musician is stifled to the point of quitting, either by their unrealistic self-comparison to others, or by the judgment of peers that don't really understand what they are judging in the first place. A youngster that picks up an instrument and they're told, wow, you're so talented, you're going to go far. They might have the confidence to take it somewhere. Whereas another that is told, you're no good, don't quit your day job, you don't have any talent, is a lot less likely to succeed in the long run, even if they are strong and defy the criticism of their peers or parents. I used to say that I don't even believe in talent, that any skill can be attained with enough practice. I suppose it could have been a way to make myself feel better about my whack skills. But since then, I've reworked my understanding of talent into something a little bit more inclusive. Talent is a useful head start, but talent alone will not carry you for an entire music career. Without the proper determination, all of the talent in the world will not help you. That actually opens the door for those of us who have less talent and must rely on some level of determination alone to succeed. If that determination is the only tool in your toolbox, you can still do just fine out there. So first I'm going to argue how I used to believe that talent does not exist, and then I'll go into some detail on how I now believe talent is real and to what extent that it's real. In some sense, talent really is subjective, an arbitrary measure based just as much on the listener's experience level as the performer's ability. The same piece of music that amazes the casual concert goer could get a harsh critique from your college music teacher. Talent is very much a matter of perception as it is a measure of skill. So maybe talent isn't some magical power bestowed upon you at birth. Maybe it's a culmination of your influences, your work environment, the quality of the gear you're given to start with, the quality of instruction that you receive. There are many variables that create that first time on an instrument experience. What about how interested a person is in learning the instrument in the first place? The kid who has loved rock albums their whole life and knows hundreds of facts about bands and guitarists, this kid will almost certainly seem more talented when they pick up a guitar. More so than the kid who doesn't really care much about music, who's forced into piano lessons by their parents. So you have to wonder, for all those artists out there who have been called talented, what is their background like? Is music fun for them? Do they have a good environment to practice in and focus? No distractions, no noise rules, good vibes? Do they have good teachers, good role models, a supportive peer group or family members who also play music, maybe even the same instrument? Are they total music nerds with lots of varied influences? Artists that are known for well-composed, impactful music? Are they generally motivated, go-getter type people in the first place? Do they generally do well in school or in other areas where performance might be graded? Are they very competitive people who have an urge to keep up with others? I can't generalize, of course, but I would think that for a large portion of notable people who are considered talented, the answer would probably be yes to a lot of these. And if you think that you're lacking in any of these things in your own learning environment, do not feel like you're starting out at some huge disadvantage here. That is certainly not my point here. but rather that those who seem leagues ahead of you for no reason are probably getting some extra help that you don't know about, and maybe that they don't know about either. And I assure you, they struggle just as hard as you do sometimes, just as hard as we all do. So for the longest time, I had just assumed that the concept of talent was a sham, that it is simply a culmination of other factors. I still hold on to the opinion that any skill can be attained if you want it bad enough, that you can practice your way into proficiency. Anything you want to do is just X amount of practice hours away, given the proper amount of determination. So now there's probably several outraged artists who are mad at me for saying their talent isn't real. I've had this discussion in real life a few times with some of my associates, and I can definitely see the fairness in their argument as well. They would say something to the effect of, if talent isn't real, then what is it that separates my unique artistic style from everyone else's? You're saying that any random person could do exactly what I do if they just try hard enough? That statement takes away the importance of everything that makes my style mine. So with some consideration on those questions, I've decided that no, saying that talent is not real isn't exactly right. Each artist will have their own individual quirks that makes their style entirely their own. It comes natural to them, so someone trying to emulate their style will only ever get a close approximation. Or they might completely nail the other person's style, but it's something that they have to work very hard to imitate. While the original artist, that same technique is so ingrained in them, it's hard not to create in that style. These ingrained technical aspects can of course work in the artist's favor or against it, but I suppose the ones whose ingrained natural habits work positively for them are the ones who are considered to be talented, while the ones whose natural inclinations work against them would be considered not talented. This certainly leaves some room for improvement though. The natural inclinations that are holding you back can be unlearned if you give it a chance, thus increasing your perceived talent level artificially through practice. So while I can agree that talent is a thing that exists, I don't think it's accurate to say that talent is something that you either have or do not have, but rather it's more of a sliding scale. And remember, if you have less talent than someone else, you can still get way further than them if you put the work in consistently. I've watched some very talented musicians go nowhere just because they didn't have the interest or drive to keep going. And on the same token, I've seen so many very mediocre musicians go all the way to the top and beyond just because they're out there putting in the work. They're seeking out the opportunities and taking them. With quote-unquote natural talent and an ego that gets fed regularly, this could breed complacency. We don't need to practice today, we know all the material and we're talented, so we should be fine. It's not a great habit to get into. Comparison to others is a dangerous game though, and ultimately isn't really necessary. As long as you're better than you were yesterday, you're doing it right, and you'll catch up. Or not. That guy over there's idea of success is likely way different than yours, and you have to really ask yourself what that is, and figure it out. What is musical success in your opinion? If you're content playing a gig of cover songs at the local bar every few months, then why compare yourself to a touring artist that has written 3 albums? If you're happy just learning some songs and playing in your bedroom, then why compare yourself to a gigging musician? Or worse, if you've only been playing guitar for a year, do not compare yourself to Steve Vai or Eddie Van Halen. These sort of comparisons aren't even very realistic, and you shouldn't be sad if you don't measure up to the greats right now. The guys from Dream Theater made a pact to practice for 6 hours every day and haven't broken it in decades. That's how you get the kind of success you want. Obviously, it's not realistic for us normal folks to fit that kind of practice into our busy lives, which is exactly why it's not realistic for us to be upset that we can't play like Petrucci, since we haven't put in even 10% of the time that he has. The moral of the story is practice makes perfect, and comparison to others can be your greatest downfall. Super cliche, super overstated, but that's for a good reason. It's super important stuff to keep in mind, especially when becoming a musician and trying to figure out this tangled mess that is the concept of talent. Just be better than you were yesterday and you'll do just fine. Anyway, that's it for this time. Leave me some comments. Let me know your opinion on talent. What do you think? Have you been told that you're talented or not talented? And how do you feel about it? Has this had a negative impact on your music career? I'd like to know, and I'd like to help if I can. Hope you found this video useful. Give me some likes and subscribes if you're feeling cool. And until next time, have fun out there.